When development organizations are trying to tell their story, the story of the work they do, and the very helpful, great, amazing work that they fund and they do on the African continent, often it's told from that lens of that white savior, where they are the hero. They have identified the problem and therefore they are fixing the problem. And therein lies the challenge, because without context, without nuance, it becomes this single story of poverty and disease and how rich countries and rich funders are trying to fix us. The continent is broken. Often there's very little context. Often there's few local voices. Often the people who are most affected by whatever issue has been discussed are not even in the story.
What we are doing inadvertently is saying some people are worth listening to and other people aren't. And we've gotten into the habit, I think through media, through advertising, just the way that fundraising has evolved, to treat people as mascots or conditions or circumstances or diseases instead of viewing people as actual people with a full story. We tend to make the story that we tell the definitive story of a person. And so that's a lot of power in our hands when we're representing people. And I go back to my own personal experience. I go back to 1984. I was graduating high school. I was struggling with my sexual identity. I knew that I was gay and I didn't know what that meant. And I looked to the media and what I saw was God hates fags, lead singers of bands with shirts on saying AIDS cures fags. And so what that told me was my story was being told about me, not by me. And it also impacted what I thought was possible in my own life. And more importantly, narratives lead to policy and lead to funding. And so that narrative around AIDS and who's a deserving victim, who's a deserving of services, slowed down research, slowed down medicines, slowed down all of the progress we saw years later because of narrative.
It's the same thing that I guess happened to me in the 80s when I was younger and I was living in London, and I saw and watched Live Aid. Our problems were so simplistic, they were so basic that anybody who just happened to hear a song and attended a concert felt they were helping. And I remember watching that thinking, that's not the Africa I know. But it became who we were. People thought they could help me because I was African and I came from this terrible place. And yes, it's not that Africa doesn't need help. It's not that some of this story is not true, but I didn't see it like that. And number one, it wasn't the only story. And that's the challenge when a single story becomes a narrative.
The thing that I like about narrative change is it can be done usually internally without a lot of permission and relatively quickly. So if people were dedicated to doing this, representing people in a much different way, these are decisions most organizations and the staff within them can make today. That's exciting to me. This is a journey for the Hilton Foundation. We've just revisited all of our programming and we are putting all of those strategies through the lens of lived experience and of equity. When we see people in communities as experts, as people with agency, drivers of their own destiny, we will more likely engage them in program design and funding decisions. We'll want to readily. And when we do that, we're going to engender greater trust both ways, and we're going to want to fund more locally at the community level. And we're going to see better impact as a result of it. I firmly believe this 100%.
I would ask people to just check their privilege. So often we don't realize the privilege that we have, which leads to certain biases that you don't even recognize. You're coming from a different space and you're probably more privileged than possibly the people you're trying to help. That's the first important thing. I think the second thing for me would be to embrace diversity, because so often we want proposals and stories from people that look like us and sound like us because it's just easier for us.
I'm thinking about what people can do today. Here are 5 easy things people can do. 1, ask people if they want to be represented, and if so, how and what they want to say. 2, feature only willing advocates as the experts that they are. 3, ask people for their advice and guidance, and this is a game changer. Don't ask them to relive trauma or circumstance. Invite people to tell their complete story in their own words, and leave words like beneficiary, vulnerable, marginalized, empower behind.
Africa No Filter have developed a very easy handbook called the Ethical Storytelling Handbook, because there is a lot of people who want to do it, and there's a lot of writing, a lot of academic research, a lot of thoughts gone into it. And what we've done is we've taken all of that and we've given you 8 very quick steps on how to do it. So check it out.